Thank God it's Friday, but just before you get into the weekend, let's do 55 minutes of current and relevant business conversations right here on Business Morning. I'm Ini John Mekwa, and we start as usual from the global space where oil prices were just a little change in early Asian trade, but we're headed for their steepest weekly losses since late June as investors express concern over the impact to global economy from tariffs that kicked into effect on Thursday. So looking at the number now, it's a huge drop for Brent. That's about 0.83%. It has brought the price down to $65.88 is what Brent is going for at this time. WTI has received even steeper fall there and is now at $63.27 a barrel. So U.S. West Texas Intermediate, of course, that is what we've seen right there. Higher U.S. tariffs against a host of trade partners. That went into effect yesterday, and the tariffs raised concerns of weaker economic activity, which could hit demand for crude oil. Oil prices are already reeling from the OPEC Plus decision last weekend to fully unwind its largest tranche of output cuts in September. That's months ahead of the initial targets. President Bola Tinubu has nominated Abdullahi Ramat as the new chairman and chief executive officer of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, that's the NERC. According to a release issued on Thursday by his advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, the president also nominated 2 commissioners for the agency. The statement mentions that all nominations are subject to Senate confirmation. Abdullahi Ramat, the new NERC chief, is a 39-year-old electrical engineer and administrator with a PhD in strategic management, among other qualifications. However, to avoid a leadership vacuum in the critical regulatory agency, the president directed him to assume office in acting capacity pending his screening by the Senate, as stipulated by the law. The beer sectoral group has asked the federal government to review the country's current excise duty regime. The call, which was made during a meeting between members of the beer industry and Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Jumoke Oduwole, at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja, is part of the group's strategic efforts to align with government policy and sustain long-term viability in the face of mounting economic pressure. The beer sectoral group expresses concerns that existing ad valorem structure could cost the industry over 425 billion naira in losses and trigger a 30% decline in revenues. Well, yesterday during Business Morning, we did speak on the issue of reviving the textile industry in Nigeria. Coincidentally or not, the 16th Emir of Kano, His Highness Muhammadu Sanusi II, is calling for the revival of Nigeria's textile industry, lamenting the loss of thousands of jobs due to the collapse of the sector. The former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria made a remark during a tour of some textile companies in Kaduna alongside the Minister of State for Industry, Mr. John Eno. He identifies lack of power, inconsistent government policies, and smuggling as major challenges facing the nation's textile industry.
Industry has had once a thriving sector, it's currently in decline due to factors such as smuggling, high operating costs, and poor infrastructure. In the renewed efforts by the administration of President Bola Tinubu to revive the textile industry, the Minister of State for Industry leads the 16th Emir of Kano on a strategic tour to some collapsed textile factories in Kaduna. The tour forms part of the federal government's commitment to industrial revitalization, which prioritizes job creation, inclusive economic growth, and industrial development. The traditional leader, Sanusi, describes the state of the sector as worrisome.
If you have a country of 200 million people, you need growth in labor-intensive industries. You need manufacturing, you need agriculture. You're not going to create jobs for 200 million people in niche sectors. okay, at this point in time. I mean, services are important, but the reality is every country that has created jobs, every country that has created even development, every country that's alleviated poverty had to go through this this phase of protecting and promoting it in secondary sectors.
Previous administrations have made interventions in the sector, which has not yielded much improvement. However, the federal government is working on the revival of the sector.
This sector is not just about cotton anymore. It's also about the polyester and other combinations that add up to what it can be. So the idea is that in this renewed effort, that the mistakes of the past in terms of what the drawbacks were, what the challenges were, will all be tackled so that comprehensively it can get us the direction in terms of what we can achieve as a country.
Now we believe that it's time for us to now go back and look at how we can continue to help that sector because the opportunities are there. And so BOI is standing ready, side by side with the federal ministry to make sure that we align our practices and processes with the policy requirements that will allow this whole industry to flourish once again.
According to the Federal Ministry of Industry, Nigeria had about 180 textile mills in the 1960s. The government is hoping that this latest effort will bring back the glory of the sector.
Well, closely related to that is the agriculture sector. Of course, it's not just about cotton for textile. But now, textile, for instance, is one of those crops that has been approved, or the GMO version has been approved in Nigeria. So perhaps it's a look at the fall and the need for revival in the textile industry that has led to that approval. Well, I will not conclude since I'm not a professional there. But let's talk about the GMOs. Yes, it's trending again in Nigeria, genetically modified organisms. They've been growing. The controversy, the DG of NAFDAC was on our program yesterday just to show the support of NAFDAC on it. And in Nigeria so far, there you have it. These are the approved GMOs in the country. That's the cotton, and then the teller maize, that of course formed conversation some time ago, the pest-resistant cowpea, and the potatoes. These are the approved GMOs in Nigeria so far. And of course there are reasons behind all of this. For instance, if you see the pest-resistant cowpea, tells you why that has been approved. For instance, the cotton, we've been lagging behind in its production. Perhaps the GMO, as the DG said yesterday, could help and boost production. But let's talk to a farmer who would know better than me in this. The Managing Director of BO Farms Limited. He's also the Chairman, Agri Group of Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Tunde Banjoko. Mr. Banjoko, good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So it's GMO again. A lot of people, I know a celebrity, who does health tips, and he received a huge bashing on X because he came out in support of GMOs. And a lot of people are saying, why do we really need this? The DG of NAFDAC was on our sister program, Sunrise Daily, yesterday in support of it. And people are saying, we have the land, we have good soil. Can we just plant, use mechanized farming and boost our production? Why do we need GMOs?
Okay, I think the aspect I want us to look at it from is, are we opposing science in its entirety? Because if we do use drugs, we use medications by the medical sciences. Doctors, they do research and they provide drugs and they keep improving on those drugs, and we use them when we need them. So if we trust them to use their drugs, why are we scared about this or that one? That would be my starting point. And like you said about the social media person, I remember the day I came to talk about the telomeres here too. I received my own bashing too. But what I would say is, I think where the issue really lies, GMO is not new. Biotechnology is not new. We started biotechnology around 1970. GMOs came into picture around 1990, 1991. But from time to time, there's this issue, it comes up. And people always talk about it in one direction, both the medical and the economy of it. I think the real issue here should be those we have saddled with the responsibility of our health coming to speak and to reassure us about the concern. And what are those concerns? They are really about the health of people. We have the Nigeria Biosafety Management Agency, for example, who vets anything before they go to the market. They vet the health impact of it. They vet the environmental impact of this thing. So I think they need to come out more now. The DG of those agencies, biosafety, biotechnology, need to come out more. I did a bit of my own research in the last few months, and I realized even the telomere was not brought to us. We participated in that process for almost over close to 5-6 years with the. So it was not just a Nigerian thing only. So it was a collaborative work. So we should talk about what have they done. Do we really trust their labs? Do we trust their processes? Do we trust their staff, that what they claim they have done, they have done? And I think I will also be looking at this direction of the economy of it, which is we don't want to rely on foreign bodies supplying us those inputs because it will impact. I also do not support that because it will impact on our struggling foreign exchange. So then, the one we have built ourselves, this institute was started in 2001. So it's not new. The Biotechnology Institute. So why did we start it if we don't trust the process? So what I'm saying is we have to keep evolving as things evolve. We expect technology to also play some impact in agriculture, not just in mechanization. Then when we talk about GMOs, what are really GMOs? You are trying to introduce some new traits into an existing, product. So now you hear about seedless watermelon, seedless orange. So it should be a choice. I can decide to say, should I try the one with seedless? Should I try the one with seed? With hybrid, you are just trying to bring two things of the same to improve the quality. But with GMOs, you want to introduce something completely new, like the seedless orange. So I think we should start doing something properly in Nigeria to allay the fears of people, label them properly. I think that's really the issue, not the health thing, but we should start labeling. So give people a choice to say, are we like, a friend was asking me the same question in Abuja during the week, and I said, do you buy conflicts for your children? Do you buy this for your children? I said most of these things because we approved some of the maize that are being imported that are GMOs. They are approved, and they are GMOs. These maize and soya beans are used in animal feed that you will still consume. And we've been consuming this chicken, this turkey, all these animals, even the ram, the goat you buy, thinking you are buying from sophisticated, maybe stores, but they are being fed with some of these approved GMOs by the Nigerian government into the country. The soya beans are being used to produce oil, and they are approved. So what are we really saying? We have been eating them for a long time. So why is it? I think it's more about the economy of it once in a while and some other economic impact that we should now be talking about. How do we protect our own institutions? How do we protect our own businesses? Because they have some downside to it. Because, for example, if I have to, with normal maize, for example, I can plant from my harvest, take some to replant. With GMOs, you can't do that. You still have to go back. If you want to have that same output, you have to go back and buy the seedlings. I'm not going to mention the company's name here, but now can our own biotechnology company, agency, tell us the ones they have produced, the telomeres, where can I get these telomeres, and how can it be subsidized for our production? But I think we should start looking at what are the benefits of some of these things. Do they have any benefit in terms of production, in terms of specific traits? We talked about the cow beans, for example. Nobody wants to eat beans. Let's use the common word, please. Beans with weevils all over the place. So we are talking about, we want to produce some beans that, presentable, healthy. The side effect is some of them are resistant to herbicide and all that, so people tend to use more. and the residue can also impact people. That's where the issue really lies.
I think you also touch on the other issue where concerns lay, which is, do they want us to be dependent on them?
Yeah.
Because if we have to keep depending on them for the seedlings,
it's not good for us.
Then it's another problem for us, added to what we're already facing.
So that's what I also, as a person, am very wary of. We can't. It's dangerous for us as a nation to become dependent on other nations. So since we have an institute, let them start.
Let our institute get active. And once we get approval from government institute, then we should be sure that it's good for our health.
And if we trust them, because I think we also don't trust them. That's why.
I guess they're not talking to us, that's why.
They're not talking to us. So probably you are the media people. You probably need to do more to educate us, Ili. You need to get them, educate us the more, because you look at all the agencies that are involved. I've mentioned to NAFDAC was here yesterday. I also watched the program.
There's the National Biosafety Management
Agency. Those are the ones verifying and validating all these things.
They're the ones who verified those the list.
NAFDAC also is concerned about what we eat, and NAFDAC also stamps it. So like Professor Moji was saying yesterday, once I enter a store and I see oranges with NAFDAC stamp on it, I should be able to take it and go to bed. But if there's no approval, then that's when I should get weary. Then do I trust the DG of the Biotechnology Institute, the DG of the National Biosafety? Do I trust them? So once they are talking to us and we trust them, we look at their profile and we see the lab, or probably they show us. If they need to show us that, okay, this thing, for example, I looked at how long does it take for the, NBMA to approve 180 days. That's almost 6 months. So if they've told us that before I give my approval for this thing to go to the market, it took 6 months. Do I believe 6 months is long enough? Another thing is, I think like Israel was working on some mangoes recently, and they say it may take us 15 years to get this thing together. So we should also ask, is 6 months enough to validate these things going to the market?
I guess we just need to get those agencies to
those are the areas we need
and
to
tell us what they are doing, give a show. I mean, we saw that textile conversation seems to be picking up now. We had a guest here on textile. Then we saw the minister head to Kaduna, and I think visited some textile companies in Lagos also. All of them textile. And thank God that cotton is one of those approved, because if we can get a GMO with a shorter gestation period, it might help the revival of the industry that we're talking about. But we really need to hear and know what's going on behind the scenes.
Really, we need to look at not just, and you know, one thing with Nigeria, for example, is even if it's not true, once somebody who is vocal enough can say it, people without, you know, I keep asking people, can they show us people who have taken some of this product of GMO and the effect or the ailment is traced to GMO? People fall sick every day, everywhere. People die every day, everywhere. So how you know sure that maybe somebody died and you're saying it's because of GMO. Somebody had cancer, you say because of this, it's because of that. So can we really trace it to those products? So I think the fact that somebody is vocal or somebody is, you know, people also take pride in, I eat organic, and I just laugh as a farmer because I know I eat organic, it's not, are they all 100% organic?
Is the meat you're eating, is it fed with organic?
Can you boldly tell me it's 100% organic? But probably less of chemical. That's the right word. But are they all 100% organic? But you know, people take pride in it because those who are also in the business, I'm not spoiling anybody's business this morning, wants to take the premium on it. And those who are also in the business want to take the pride in, this is what I eat, this is what I buy. But I think we should start labeling properly. Those agencies that are saddled with that responsibility should give people a choice so that those who want to eat it, let them eat it. Those who don't want to eat, let them buy their regular stuff. Somebody might want to try, like I said, seedless watermelon. Wants to give it a try, let him give it a try. If it's fine, let them go about it. But you know, because also again, whatever you don't understand, you mystify. Because it's not done in the open, it's done in the lab. So we can also...
Must it be in the
it's in the lab. It's not.
Yeah, it must be in the lab. But I
Yeah.
mean, you can take a television camera and put it there and
of course.
share it out.
No. Would you share your secrets in the lab? And don't
Trade
also
secrets.
forget. No, beside the trade secrets, don't forget that it's a controlled environment. Probably certain temperature, certain this, certain that. So they might not show you the entirety of their process. But we know, we don't even know what goes on in the lab. We only know it's in the lab. Whether it is spirit in the lab, I don't know. But, we know it's not.
Joko, you tell us everything today. But anyway, thank you so much for, bringing your perspective to this GMO conversation. Managing Director of Biofarms Limited, and also the Chairman, Agric Group of Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Tony Banjoko. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, now let's head to recently we saw that the insurance sector went buzz. So we know the NGX, the stock market, has been doing good. Insurance just added to it since the president gave his assent to that new insurance law. That's what we'll be discussing now, and we're going to be doing it with the Commissioner for Insurance and the Chief Executive Officer of Insurance Commission, Mr. Olusegun Omosei. He's in our Abuja studio. But before we get there, yes, let's have that. Good morning, Mr. Omosei, and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ini. Good morning, Nigerians. I'm very happy to be here.
Great. So let's see some highlights of the new law. That was the slide you saw earlier. If we could have that back to see some of the outstanding parts of that Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Act. It's NERC, that's it. Some of the promises that the new act provides is, for instance, there's supposed to be simplification of all of the contracts. It's not supposed to be so much work to understand the exclusion of clauses embedded in policy documents, clearer, more digestible documents. There's unlicensed insurance agents across Nigeria may be arraigned in court for prosecution with penalties including a fine of 500,000, zero tolerance for delays in claim settlement. I know a lot of Nigerians would be looking forward to that. Expanded participation in regional insurance schemes and a whole lot more. And thank God we have the head of the regulatory agency right here. Now, Mr. Omosei, once again, welcome to the program. For you, what's the most outstanding feature of this new law?
Thank you once again, Ini. I think I will just summarize briefly. Starting point, it's a law that has Ini, if you can hear me, I would just like to say that the NERC 2025, which is Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Bill 2025, is a welcome development, is a piece of legislation that particularly from a regulatory perspective we are quite excited about. Some of the key highlights is what you've mentioned earlier, but much more than that. Also, my description will come by way of describing it as a consolidated legislation and a modern legislation. The implication of this is the law actually consolidates about 5 different pieces of legislation into one. And there's a historical context to this because the last attempt at a law regulating insurance operation in Nigeria was in 2003. So what NERC has done is to put together the pieces of legislation into one document and the modernization that followed. What that entails is all recognizes all the current realities and what is required for a modern insurance sector to thrive. Of course, there's the requirements around, a stricter requirement around capital. And I need to explain this. The law actually mandates a new minimum capital requirement which also includes the requirement around risk-based capital. What this would do for us is a situation where we're then able to have more capitalized, stronger, stable insurance institutions that can actually provide the necessary backing that our country, Nigeria, requires. And more importantly is the fact that risk-based capital, which the new law has added, is a framework that allows for institutions to be measured based on their risk exposure, as opposed to the one-size-fits-all kind of arrangement that we had in the old law. Apart from this is the requirement around expansion of compulsory insurances. Also, the mandate for insurance institutions to sort of adopt digital in their digital system around their ecosystem, that the insurance ecosystem, i.e., this is to the benefit of consumers. You earlier spoke around the issue of simplicity, simplifying the policy wordings and documents. Also, one important aspect around this is the protection the law offers policyholders. There's now a new provision in the law that creates a policyholder protection fund. This is in an attempt to give sufficient confidence and comfort to policyholders, i.e., in the event of insolvency of an insurance institution, policyholders then have recourse to getting their benefits or their claims, sorted and paid from that fund. The workings and the dynamics would also be highlighted as we move on. But more importantly is the fact that even the regulator is not left alone in this. We now have a situation where the regulator has more power of enforcement and oversight over the institutions that operate in the sector. So in a nutshell, I would say it's a win-win for every stakeholder in this regard. More importantly, to the insurance consumer, this is a breakthrough, and I see it as, a major pillar in the drive to achieving the $1 trillion economy that the president and the current administration envisions.
Yeah, well, I have to say that that's right on point, because, I mean, some investors have already started making money in the stock market since that law was signed by the president. The insurance stocks have been surging, and a lot of people have now, perhaps insurance stocks will no longer be called penny stocks. But getting back to this now, the issue of digitalizing the process, a lot of Nigerians will just be curious, so how does that drive down to impact on me as an insurance consumer, as an insurance investor?
The idea around digitization is to simplify the process of insurance interaction with the Nigerian public. Now, the law clearly makes provision or recognizes the role of fintechs and insurtechs in that process. What that does is to simplify the engagement process, both onboarding, claims payment, claims processing, and what have you. So issues of delay will be reduced to minimal level. And these are part of the advantages of what the digitization provides. But more importantly is the fact that it opens up the insurance sector to the teeming youth that we have in Nigeria as a country. They can now engage with insurance institutions, at the right platform where they love. Our Gen Zs love to be on their phones and what have you. So buying insurance becomes simpler as opposed to the traditional distribution system that we had. So it has widened the scope and makes it a lot easier for engagement, for interaction, and ultimately for processing benefits. So I'll say the ultimate benefit of this is to the insurance consumer. And I can, rightly say that, look, this is a time that insurance is well prepared. I think the law has really prepared the insurance sector to play that critical role that is required in any thriving economy. The major challenge you will realize in it had been the fact that there's been issues around trust, trust of the operators in the sector. This is the major area that this is meant to address, where you have policies that are clearer, no delays in the processing and what have you. Also, part of the advantages this will bestow on us is to actually help the industry to rebuild that public confidence in the insurance sector. And I think I would like to, at this stage, commend Mr. President for being very outright in his support of this bill by signing it into law. Also, I would like to commend, and it's like an answer to all the prayers of Nigerians, because this was also a private member bill from the Senate, from the National Assembly, and more importantly, I'd like to commend the sponsor of that bill that is now an act, distinguished Senator Adetokunbo Abiru, and his committee on banking, insurance, and other financial institutions, as well as his counterpart in the House of Representatives, Usman Ahmed Jaha, who is the chair of the House of Representatives Committee on Insurance and Actuarial Matters, who stood solidly behind the bill, pushed because they listened to the voice of Nigerians. They were able to also understand the desire of their constituency in terms of what they would like to see in a modern insurance sector. All of this put together has, been the excitement that is all around given to Nigerians to be able to see a vibrant, stable insurance sector that will play its critical role in driving the desired economy that all Nigerians desire.
All right, so Mr. Masai, the other part which I know will interest a lot of Nigerians is the delay in claims settlement. Now, help us to understand, when does it become a delay? How long is it supposed to take? What are some of the processes? And how can we expect all of that to change with this new law?
Thank you, Ini. The provisions are clear in the law, but what you see in the coming days is a situation where NICOM, that is the National Insurance Commission, that's the agency that I head, will come up with a clear regulation that will stipulate the timelines and every of those requirements that Nigerians can then hold on to. It's a framework already, but the detailed regulation will be rolled out by the Commission. And mind you, the focus of the current administration is clear in terms of giving that comfort and the trust and confidence to Nigerians. Where the issues had been, oftentimes had been where you have institutions that are insolvent. In that regard, I think you will recall that there was sometime a situation last year where the National Insurance Commission had to take over an institution, removing both the board and management to appoint an interim board to run the affairs of those institutions. But the missing link in that process is when you take over, you then need to manage the institution in such a manner that perhaps selling off some of their assets to be able to meet their current obligations. But in the current law, the law had made provision for a policyholders protection fund. That fund is where we will then draw money to meet those obligations in the immediate, whilst the institution is then allowed to look at other avenues of recapitalizing and raising funds. And essentially, I think these are clearly areas that we are going to push more light in terms of benefits and how Nigerians can fully benefit from what the law has provided.
Sounds interesting. Sounds interesting. And then there's the regional insurance schemes, which the law refers to. What's that, and how do we key into that?
Okay, thank you. I think the law aligns with the aspiration of our nation, Nigeria, in our economic integration process. Nigeria is a signatory to the ECOWAS protocol, and this allows for Nigeria to then be fully integrated in the free movement of people and goods and services across the sub-region. So to this extent, there's a scheme, an insurance scheme, which is the ECOWAS brown card. This law aligns the provisions in the protocol, in that ECOWAS protocol on brown card, with our law, which had not been the practice before now. So Nigerians, once you buy your third-party insurance, the compulsory third-party in Nigeria, it allows you, gives you access to travel all across the West African sub-region without any additional requirement, because the third-party requirement across the region has been embedded. And this is a major advantage to Nigerians, especially for those that are ready to go across the region and do business, traveling and what have you. And also, one other advantage of this is the total alignment of the current law with the benefits and the opportunities that will come with AFTA, which is the African Continental Free Trade Area. Those advantages that will flow from that initiative becomes a lot easier, because Nigerians can then, be free to move across the region in view of the alignment that this law has with the NERC protocol.
And of course, we expect all of this to accumulate into more positive economic activities for Nigeria.
Yes, that is the desire, and that is the major objective. And I think Mr. President is very excited, even with the prospect of this new law, because it aligns clearly with the objective of the $1 trillion economy. And this is, in such a manner that it's creating a very stable financial sector. It's also giving confidence to investors all across, both foreign and local investors. And of course, the issue of insurance inclusion. So to that extent, insurance then forms a major pillar of the $1 trillion economy. So by so doing, we are then able to give the necessary support and stability to the growth of the economy. But overall, I think it creates, the much needed or required room for economic development and growth of the Nigerian economy. So we are excited about this opportunity and the opportunity and the prospect offered by the new law. We are happy to see a new insurance sector, a new insurance industry, benefiting from what the law has created. And I think this is one of the major advantages of having a modern legislation that is future-looking, is futuristic. And so it gives room and allows room for the growth and the development of the Nigerian economy. So I'm happy as a regulator to have been a witness to this. So I think the critical thing at this stage is for all to roll up our sleeves as the regulator in terms of implementation, full implementation of the provisions of the new law. They said the taste of the of the pudding is in the eating. So the ultimate test will be how well will the regulator be able to implement the provisions and to the benefit of our economy. So we're happy to do this, and we'll be, reporting progress as we move on. But overall, I think it's a plus for every stakeholder. But let me also use the opportunity to thank the insurance sector, particularly the players and major stakeholders who have been waiting for this opportunity to take advantage and really grow the market. Our role as regulator is very simple: to provide that enabling environment for our businesses to thrive. And that is what this law has done for us. It has provided the enabling legal and regulatory framework for the sector to really make its meaningful contribution to the Nigerian economy. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mr. Mosai. And you know that to whom much is given, much is also expected. And you said it yourself. You are happy, we're happy, but we need to see the working of it. I think that will begin with, the points that you said the regulator, the commission will share in the next few months or weeks, so that we can start full implementation and see the seed of it. Thank you so much for your time, the Commissioner for Insurance and Chief Executive Officer of National Insurance Commission, Mr. Olusegun Omosayin, for your time. And we wish you the very best in the implementation of the new law. You're welcome back. It's still Business Morning here on Channels Television. Let's discuss gas now. It's no longer news that Nigeria holds the largest natural gas reserves in Africa and 9th largest globally, and a proven reserve estimated at about 200 trillion cubic feet. And despite this, the country's energy consumption has historically been dominated by petrol and diesel. In fact, Nigeria is called an oil-producing country instead of a gas. However, there's a growing push toward energy adoption driven by government policies and economic and environmental factors. And we know there are various government policies. One, of course, is the presidential CNG initiative. Let's look at some consumption. Domestic consumption in 2023 of natural gas reached a 10-year high. Now, these are the government policies for gas adoption, national gas. All right, my producer's back there. They're on the pedal. But okay, this is the status now. The domestic consumption hit a 10-year high in 2023. There we see it was an increase from the previous year, about 13% increase. Sectorally, we see power generation consume about 45%, industrial 24.1%, residential 30%, and refineries 11.4%. Petrochemicals had 3.2%. That's the list of the consumptions. Now let's go back to the government policies and initiatives that has been tried now. There's the Nigerian government introducing several policies. There's a national gas expansion program that was launched in 2020. It's supposed to increase the use of natural gas in transportation industry and domestic sectors. There's also the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative, that's the PICNG, that was established in 2023, and it seeks to drive the adoption of CNG as a more affordable and cleaner alternative to petrol and diesel. How much have we succeeded in that? We'll delve into that in a bit. There's the Decade of Gas Initiative. That's supposed to run from 2021 to 2030. That's supposed to be on now. It's a strategic plan at the core of Nigeria's energy transition strategy, aiming to utilize the country's gas reserve for industrial growth and national development. And then there's the most popular, I think, Ajaokuta Kaduna Kano, the AKK gas pipeline. This major infrastructure project is designed to transport gas from southern to northern parts of the country and facilitate industrial and power generation expansion. Let's see how much we have gone into this journey with Barrister Chidima Obi. She's the Chief Executive Officer of Dindu's Energy Services and Resources Limited. Barrister Obi, good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Great. So we see these government policies, especially the Decade of Gas. That was so loud at a point. I don't know if we hear a lot about it, but being in that oil and gas sector, how much progress have we made in this journey to adopting renewed energy, but looking at gas especially now?
I believe the country is making tremendous progress from where we're coming from. on gas expansion, utilization, and initiative. Coming from the last administration to our present administration, there's been a push. There's been a push to ensure that the country's utilization of natural gas and its components is on the high. And one very prominent, like you have mentioned, the decade of gas will not be sounding in the air because we are still in that decade going down, and it's produced a lot of important additional dimensions to the revolution of gas in Nigeria. A couple of years back, we didn't have a lot of gas processing companies. We are not hearing so much of gas flaring now as it used to be before, even though the gas flare out initiative has not really taken up as it should, because the people who have the gas, the oil and gas companies, and the people who are processing are still in the dimensions of moving forward. So I believe, not that I think, being in the sector, I've been in this sector for from cradle to almost nearing gray, right? And I can say that there's been no other time that the gas push is as much as it's been in the last couple of years. I would take, for an instance, the initiative, Presidential Gas Initiative. It is a revolutionary theme that's catching on with first on the convergence of converting cars to utilize natural gas, CNG, LNG, for instance, to move instead of a natural white product. In the industrial sector, the revolution will start, and that is that instead of over-dependence on diesel, when the companies who have been depending on gas generators because of our epileptic power issues come fully to realizing that it's cheaper to actually run on natural gas, on LNG, on CNG. LNG actually most, because it's a cheaper fuel to run. But there's an impediment that's holding those who've gotten loads of generators from switching over because of cost of switching over. But by the time you take the long-term gain, you find out that you can make that infrastructural change, because companies are springing up and they're looking for off-takers to take off LNG, natural gas, CNG to power industrial zones.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask, how much of a progress have we made in gas to electricity? I know a couple of companies, big companies who are depending on that, but it doesn't seem widespread.
Yes, because what we're doing now is that we're developing a gas processing company, right? And we're looking for off-takers, talking to big companies. One of the laybacks that we get is, we can't pay for new infrastructure. You have to find companies that have to do the conversion for us. And mind you, we're not a converting company, but we have to work together with them to introduce them to the clients to be able to push our products in the market, and they see the advantages. Those who have moved cannot go back. Those who have not moved are counting the cost of putting the infrastructure, which is capital, but it's like installing clean energy solar in your homes. If you want it to power everything in your house, it's a monumental investment. But when you begin to live with it, you will know that you're really not missing, that your capital investment would have paid off. So I'll encourage Nigerians to begin to look at, especially our big industrialists, right, who cannot depend on the national grid for electricity, and who has been dependent on generators and diesel, to come talk to us and partner with us to, switch up their machineries.
So I wonder which one is more cost effective. A lot of households, for instance, I know have switched to solar, even if it's partial. So solar competing with gas. I wonder which one seems more attractive.
Okay, I could give you a very natural answer from experience.
Not from sentiment.
Not from sentiment.
Okay.
Right. And that is about using solar to power homes as per using a gas generator, right? The solar to power your homes effectively to carry on all your equipment is very cost intensive, right? Especially in the hot season. But sunshine is abundant here, and you have only, in a year, you have only 3 months in a year that you have, so less than 90 days. At the end of the day, when you are able to spend, depending on the kind of house that you live in, right? And depending on what you want to support, again, you would, from band A to band B to band C of electricity, you were not putting all your ACs. So even when you want to put clean energy solar now that I'm talking about, you can kind of scale up. It's not cheap at first, but it doesn't give you the difficulty of going to look for where to fill up your gas.
All right, Barrister, yeah. we really have to stop here. Maybe we'll try and get you back into the studio to conclude this conversation. Barrister Chidinma Obi is Chief Executive Officer of Dindu's Energy Services and Resources Limited, preaching the message of gas today. And our message will preach never. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
All right, now, just before we go, we need to go to the global space, and we cannot close without that. So we start from Europe, where the European natural gas prices, talking about gas, headed for a weekly decline as market participants await a meeting between the U.S. and Russia that could determine the future direction of energy trade policies. That has been in the atmosphere. And so 3 rounds of talks between Russia and Ukraine held between May and July. We haven't seen so much happening. We hope that the meeting between President Trump and Putin will do something different. Also around there in Europe, Hungary's inflation rate dropped less than expected. It's because of rising food and energy costs, bolstered by arguments for the central bank's monetary policy caution. The prices rose 0.4%. And then also in India is in a very hot seat now, we know, because of that threat of tariff from the U.S. because they are buying Russian oil. Well, they say they have about 20 days to avoid that 50% U.S. tariffs. We'll talk more about it subsequently on our other programs. But thank you so much for being a part of Business Morning. My director is in my ear, so we really have to go now. News Track is around the corner. Mini John McQuarrie. I'll see you at 1:30 for Business Incorporated. Talk to you then.